Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here with some more Warhammer combat cards, and in this video I will be going through my collection and talking about every single legendary bodyguard in my collection and telling you what I think about them, whether they're actually worth using or not. So without further ado, starting with the leftmost faction, the Eldari, we've got 3 legendary bodyguards here. And alright, starting at the top, we've got the Yin Karn. A very expensive bodyguard at 78 points, making it very difficult to use. As you can see, very powerful melee attack, and I currently have it level 2. At level 3 it gains a very strong psychic attack as well. Doesn't have the most health for something of its cost, but it does have regeneration. So yeah, this thing is just way too expensive, so I haven't used it yet, but once it's leveled up it might be a fun one to bring out. Moving on, recent addition to my collection, the Crimson Hunter. This thing is very strong, especially with the Zephyr Blade. At 44 points, it's not too hard to fit into your deck, and as you can see, at level 3, it gains, it goes up to 97 base range damage, which is massive. It's got a decent amount of health and outflank, and of course, because it is an aircraft, it has high initiative, so very strong card. And then we've got Lathron, the Harlequin Solitaire. This guy is pretty strong, 33 points, so he's pretty cheap. And he does a massive amount of melee damage, increased further with Big Game Hunter against more expensive targets. The downside is his low health. He's kind of a glass cannon, so difficult to keep alive unless you pair him up with Rikarth. Okay, moving on to Necrons. We've got 3 more legendary bodyguards here. Starting at the top with the most expensive, we've got the Transcendent. This guy is very expensive and has a powerful ranged attack. At level 3 he also has a pretty strong melee. He's got a lot of health, but taunt. I think the main weakness is his trait. I don't think taunt is very good on expensive units like this because it allows them to be focused down and destroyed faster, which is kind of counterproductive. So that's the unfortunate thing about this guy. So I actually have enough copies to level him up to 5, but I'm deciding not to because it's a whole lot of coins and I don't think he's really worth using. The much better option in my opinion is the Void Dragon. This thing is much cheaper in terms of its cost, but still deals a massive amount of damage, even more damage actually than the Sun Eater, and with Big Game Hunter it's actually quite strong against other powerful enemies. So this is a very strong card, definitely worth using. And then down here we've got this Overlord, 34 points, so it's pretty cheap, and it's got Inspiring Presence, which is a strong trait, powerful melee attack, and a decent ranged attack, and decent amount of health. The thing is, with Necrons, I tend to lean towards a more ranged heavy build, so this guy doesn't really fit in so well. So I haven't used him very much. I have seen other players use him. So, decent card, but I personally just haven't used him very much. Alright, moving on to Tau. I actually only have 1 legendary bodyguard for Tau, and it is the Rivarna Battlesuit. Very expensive. Battlesuit, massive ranged attack, and very weak melee attack that cannot be upgraded. It's got Big Game. This one also has Big Game Hunter, and he has a lot of health. So this thing, unfortunately, I think is kind of inferior to the Riptide Battlesuit, and I'll bring it up here. Riptide, I think, is just a lot better. It also deals a lot of damage, has a lot of health, but has the higher melee attack, making it more useful, I think, in more situations. So Rivarna, not quite as good, I think. And also, I don't have it in my collection, but Tau also have a tank, Long Strike. This is a legendary, very powerful ranged unit, which I think that is actually quite strong. If you have it in your collection and have it leveled up, it's able to one-shot all kinds of units. So very powerful legendary. Moving on to Servants of the Emperor. Now, Servants of the Emperor actually have quite a few legendaries. I only have 2, I believe, in my collection. So yeah, I'll just talk about the ones I have. Starting at the top, another very expensive aircraft, the Valkyrie. This thing has a whole lot of health and a very powerful ranged attack, outflank as its trait, and its ready ability is a ranged debuff, which I think does not work as well with Commissar Yarick. So I think this works best with Magos Dominus, and that's what I use it with. And then down here we've got Celestine. She has a very powerful melee attack and lots of health, along with Inspiring Presence. Now, Servants of the Emperor actually have quite a few units with Inspiring Presence, and the bonus does not stack, so you just have to be careful not to deploy several of them on the field at the same time. At level 5, she does gain quite a bit of range damage, so yeah, if you get her up to that level, she can be quite strong. Still, yeah, definitely a very good option for if you're running Canoness Viridian as the Warlord. Okay, moving on to Space Marines. Now, Space Marines have a whole lot of bodyguards, legendary bodyguards, and I have a fair few of them in my collection. A lot of them are actually pretty bad, but I'm going to go through and briefly talk about each one. Mfistin, I only have one copy of him at level 1, so he's very weak at the moment, but he is quite strong. His trait is Furious Charge. As you can see, at level 2 he gains a powerful melee attack, and at level 3 a strong psychic attack. So I've seen him used with Grandmaster Voldus before. He is pretty expensive, but yeah, he's got definitely good stats once he gets to level 3. And actually, I forgot to mention that legendary cards in general are very weak at level 1. At level 2 they become pretty strong, and then at level 3 they become really strong. At level 4 they get to upgrade their trait, which depending on the trait can be pretty good or not that great. So yeah, just the upgrade path works that way. But it does cost a whole lot of coins to upgrade them, so kind of difficult to do if you are a free-to-play player. Okay, looking at Marnius Calgar right here. Another very expensive legendary bodyguard at 50 points. He is kind of hard to use. He also has Inspiring Presence, a powerful melee attack, lots of health, but yeah, at that points cost, I mean, there are a whole lot of other really powerful units like these Dreadnoughts, and a lot of those are just more attractive options. Okay, moving down the line, we've got Nyala Stormcaller. This guy is a powerful Psyker with a good melee attack, and he's got Warp Surge. So this guy works well with Grandmaster Voldus, but unfortunately his low health is his weakness, kind of a glass cannon. So yeah, I think in terms of Psykers, Tagurius is one of the best. He's slightly less points at 36 points, and he has a shield, making him a lot more durable. If you position him in the right place at the right time, you can absorb a lot of damage with that shield. He has a really powerful psychic attack, which is, I mean, that's his job, so that's what it should be. But he also has all 3 attack types, which can be good at counterattacking in some situations. Moving down the line, we've got Tor Gyaradon. This guy has a whole lot of health and a shield, not that much damage, so just kind of a mediocre guy, not really the most attractive option. And next to him at the exact same points cost, we've got Bilal, another guy with Inspiring Presence. This guy has less health and a powerful melee attack, but I only have him at level 1, so really he won't be useful for quite some time. Over here we've got the Raven Guard Chapter Master. This guy used to be a lot weaker. He got buffed quite a bit, so he does a lot more damage, a surprising amount of ranged and melee damage. And he's got high initiative and high health and outflank, which is decent. So actually, stats-wise, this guy is really good, but he doesn't really fit into any of the decks that I have for Space Marines, so it's unfortunate. Yeah, he has like potential, but just doesn't really synergize very well with the Warlords. And then finally, we've got the Chaplain here. This guy is kind of similar to Tor Gyaradon. He has a lot of health, shield, but just mediocre damage, so really not that great of a card. Alright, let's move on to Chaos. For Chaos, I have 3 legendaries, I believe. Up at the top, we've got the Lord of Change. This is definitely one of the best legendaries in the game. Extremely powerful Psyker with a good melee attack, lots of health, and Warp Surge for the trait. This is a must-have if you are running a Psychic Chaos deck, especially one led by Ahriman. So, yeah, great card there. Next to it, we have another Greater Demon, the Great Unclean one, a very iconic character. This guy has the most health in the game, and he has regeneration, meaning he can just keep on gaining health, so he is really good at surviving, and sometimes he can outlast your own Warlord. He's got a very powerful ranged, or not ranged, but melee attack, and a weak psychic attack. So, I don't know, stats-wise he's actually quite good, but I don't really see him used very much. And I actually haven't really used him that much either. Not sure why. He does have very low initiative, he's very slow. But yeah, I don't know. I think there are just other options that work a little bit better. He is very expensive, so he's going to take up a large portion of your deck. And then the third legendary we have is Celeste. This is a very strong card when upgraded. As you can see at the upgrade path, it does gain a ranged and psychic upgrade, so it's one of the few units that can end up with a really powerful attack for all 3 types. And it's also got Inspiring Presence and a lot of health, so at the lower levels weak, but at the higher levels very scary to face. Moving on to Orcs. At the top we got the Mad Mangler the Gorkanat. I love the model, but this is one of the worst cards ever. Very terrible. Like, I don't know, and I've had it in my collection for ages, but for some reason it's still at level 2. I just do not get copies of it. They're just much better options if you want to go ranged, sadly. Next up we've got War Boss Kur Kroxnik on the War Trike. This is a very powerful card. As you can see, at level 3 it gains a powerful ranged attack in addition to its melee attack, and the trait Scout allows it to buff your melee attack, but of course with the recent rework to Boss Zagstruck, this is a extremely deadly unit to use with Zagstruck in particular. So great legendary right there. And then the third one I have is this mini tank Squadron thing. A bit of a strange legendary. It's very cheap, only at 18 points. Very weak at level 1 of course, but it's actually surprisingly useful, I think, at level 3 with Taunt. Because it is a cheap unit, the Taunt actually works really great for redirecting incoming enemy damage. And yeah, that's it for the legendaries, legendary Orcs. And then finally, we've got Tyranids, and I only have 2 legendaries here. I've got Old One-Eye. This guy has a lot of health and regeneration, but a surprisingly weak melee attack for its cost, so it's really not that great of a card. Really only worth using with Gosar in my opinion, and even then not really that great of an option until you get it to level 5. So yeah, sadly not that great of a legendary right there. This is a little bit better option, I think, because of its Inspiring Presence. It's one of the few Tyranids with that Inspiring Presence. It's got a powerful melee attack and a weak psychic attack, as well as a lot of health. So this Hive Tyrant can be pretty good. But yeah, I haven't actually really seen many players using it that much. So Tyranid legendaries are a bit underwhelming. Hopefully they'll be getting something new in the future. So that is all of the legendary bodyguards in my collection. That was a lot of talking on my part. I know I did miss a few that I do not have in my collection, so if you know of any others that you have questions about, please let me know in the comments. And if you disagree with anything I said here, I'd be interested in hearing your opinions as well. So If you made it this far, thank you for watching, as always, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.